Ms. Bonsall, how long have you been an educator?
This is my 4th year being a teacher. I've taught at West Brook all 4 years.
Wow. How do you like teaching at West Brook?
I really love teaching at West Brook. It feels like home. I love my students and the staff members too.
What innovative teaching methods or strategies have you employed to create an engaging classroom environment?
I like to have fun in biology, so we like to do a lot of experiments, and we also color a lot of diagrams and graphs, so that makes it interesting too. We're not just looking at something that's black and white. We actually put color on whatever we're doing, and my students really enjoy that. So they like to make it their own, make it personable for them, whether that be notes or just maybe a model that we're putting together or anything like that.
Could you share a success story of a student who benefited significantly from your teaching approach?
Yes, so most of my kids come to me and they tell me that they really like the way I teach because it's fun, it's very low stress, we get what we get done in the time frame we get it done, and it's just what they make it. So I'm not trying to stress them out. They're going to come in there, they're going to learn what they need to learn, and we're just going to move on with our lives.
In your opinion, what role does technology play in modern education, and how do you integrate it into your teaching?
When we use technology in my class, we mainly use it every day. So I like to get my students used to typing in Google Docs, using a spreadsheet, making a presentation and presenting it, because these are things they're going to have to do when they go to work in the real world. So they're going to have a resume first thing to get a job. They're going to have to be able to fill out a job application online. They're going to have to be able to work all of these different platforms of technology when they go into the workforce. So they're using it every day and they're independent. I also make sure that they're checking their emails from me, from their other teachers, from Miss Smith, because no matter what job you do these days, you're going to have to keep up with your email.
Definitely. What advice would you give to new teachers who are just starting their journey in education?
Be patient. It's going to get better. Your first year is always your hardest year. Don't stress about the little things. If it's not going to harm your students or make them into bad humans, don't worry about it. Just get what you can get done that day and focus on the stair in front of you instead of the staircase.
Can you share any personal role models or educators who have influenced your teaching philosophy?
The first person that comes to mind is Miss Ruby Miller. She's not from here. She was my 4-H agent when I was growing up, but she was also a retired teacher. And Miss Ruby always made everything fun. We traveled all over the country with her doing experiments for different presentations for 4-H and different leadership roles. She is still in my life and she's still awesome. And usually I try to be Miss Ruby every day in the science lab.
Where was your favorite place that you went with Miss Ruby?
Ooh, that's hard. We went everywhere. Okay, favorite trip, hands down, was when we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We went on a junior leaders trip, and we stayed for 5 days, and we went up into the mountains, and we went to Dolly World, and Miss Ruby made us this big plate of cinnamon rolls, and she made them homemade, so they weren't from the can. They were delicious. And also, when we went up to Tennessee, it snowed, and Miss Ruby woke us up early. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning when it started snowing. So she woke us up, and, us being from Louisiana, most of us had never seen snow before. So she woke us up really early, and she took us all outside to go see the snow. So we had a great time when we went to Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun. How do you balance maintaining high academic standards with providing emotional and psychological support to your students?
I have a philosophy that if my students' psychological and emotional needs are not met, they will not strive in my classroom. So first thing we manage, well, are you okay? Are you happy, healthy, and here? If you're not happy, healthy, or here, then we need to work on those 3 things before we can ever move forward academically. So that means when my students are out sick or out for whatever reason they're out for, they need to be dealing with their family or their health. They shouldn't be worried about my biology class if they're homesick with the flu. They should be worried about getting well first. So we manage those three things. Are you happy? Are you healthy? And are you in my room first? And once we manage those three things, everything else just falls into place, because you can't learn if you're stressed out. You can't function if you're stressed out. You can't function if you're sick. None of those things help you when you're learning. It's only a hindrance. So if we cover happy, healthy, and then in my room, then we strive to achieve academic success.
Could you discuss a specific challenge you faced as an educator and how you overcame it?
There's a lot. I guess the biggest challenge was my very first year teaching, which, fun fact, I was actually teaching Miss Ryan,
Yay.
who's interviewing me right now. We were in the middle of COVID, so you could either come to school and sit in my classroom, or you could attend school virtually at home through Google Classroom and Zoom. Well, that was really hard my first year because A, I didn't know how to teach. B, I was teaching online and in person. And I had a lot of kids who were struggling to grasp the material just because we had been on break for so long, and then everybody came back, and then people were sick, and then I was sick, and it was here, there, and yon, everything back and forth. So the biggest struggle with that year for me was learning how to work the technology to be able to help my students who were at home or who were sick. So that was the biggest struggle for me, and with the help of the instructional technology group here at BISD and a few other teachers here at BISD, they helped me to teach all of my students and not just the ones who were in my classroom physically.
And biology is a STAR tested subject, right? So how did
Yes.
you maintain teaching your kids the STAR test material as well, online?
Well, basically every day I would just video whatever I would lecture on. So let's say we were talking about cells that day. So I would point the video camera to the board, and it would video my presentation as I would talk, and then as I would draw pictures on the board, because I would doodle a lot on the board to support their notes. So those kids could still see what I wrote on the whiteboard. Also, I would upload the PowerPoints and the documents and everything that I had that was digital to Google Classroom. So it was like they were there, just not there.
What do you believe are the key skills and qualities that students need to thrive in the rapidly changing world?
I think that students and adults need to be adaptable. So I teach science. If things didn't adapt, we would die, okay? And I live by that. So if you are not adaptable to whatever environment you are in, whether that be, so you have to be adaptable. You have to learn how to work with the people you're given, because you're never going to work with all the people you want to work with. That includes students too. You have to be willing to change for the betterment of you, and you can expect other people to change, but usually you're the problem. 9 times out of 10, you're the problem. It's not the other person. So just adapt to whatever environment you're in, whether that be in the workplace, in your family, in your school, in your community. Just be adaptable, but have 3 non-negotiables that you don't sway on. So my non-negotiables for me, and I tell these to my students as well, I demand respect. I refuse to be disrespected. I will always try to do my very best to be on time, heeding any circumstances that are out of my control, and then to be approachable. So I make sure that my students can come and talk to me, and my students should be approachable to their peers as well. So, just to be comfortable and well respected all the way around. So, yes, you can adapt, but you have to have a few non-negotiables so you're not swaying in the wind with whatever everybody's doing. But for the most part, you have to be adaptable, or you will die. You might not die physically, but you're not going to excel as far as you would if you were adaptable.
How do you collaborate with fellow teachers and school staff to create a cohesive and supportive learning environment?
So for biology, we have a team of, hold on, let me count. Ms. Starnes, Mr. Lasco, Ms. Chavis. Okay, so we have a team of 6 teachers and 2 administrators, including myself, so that's 8 people altogether. and we always make sure we're on the same page as far as what topic we're teaching that week, and we try to stay on the same track. That in turn helps me to make sure that I'm teaching my kids what they need to know. So it keeps me in check. So everybody, the other 7 people, keep me in check and say, well, Miss Bonsall, we could do it this way, or well, Miss Bonsall, you're doing a good job. So you always have to get input from other people to make sure you as a teacher are doing the right thing for your students. Because I could think something is very important and hound y'all on it, but it might not be as important when we get to the STAR test or when we get to finals.
Can you share an instance where you experimented with a new teaching approach that yielded unexpectedly positive results?
Yes, so I did not come up with this on my own, but someone told me just to turn my kids loose once. It was probably about November. So they just told me to let them come in and see what they remembered for our routines, for what we had learned so far, and just turn them loose and give them an assignment and don't help them at all. I did it to y'all. You might not have been there that day, but I did it to y'all. And it always amazes me how much y'all truly absorb once we get to that point. So when I do that, that is a check for me. Well, did I prepare you for a day where I'm not going to be here? Did I prepare you for all of the content you've learned so far? If not, what holes do we need to fill? Like, where do we need to go back? Do you not know that the pencil sharpener's in the left corner of the room? Do you not know that you don't need, you need your binder for class every day? Do you not know that a prokaryotic cell is a bacteria cell? Like, what do we need to work on? So I thought it was going to blow up in my face and y'all weren't going to know anything, and it was going to really show all the holes that I have in my classroom. But in turn, my students always do very well with this, and there's usually only a few things that we could nitpick on to improve on.
I wanted to talk about, like, going from teaching regular to going to teaching AP. Like, is it a big difference? Is it a little small difference?
So are we talking about regular biology, like regular freshman biology versus regular pre-AP biology?
No, necessarily,
versus pre-AP biology, or are we talking regular biology versus AP biology?
Regular versus AP.
Okay. So, really and truly, I've only been teaching AP biology for 3 weeks. We've been in school for 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been teaching AP biology for 3 weeks now. It is not a huge difference. So in regular biology, which is STAR tested, we basically just cover all of the big picture stuff. Okay? For AP biology, we're getting more in depth as far as biochemistry. The actual structures of the cell is what we're starting this week. The structures of the biomolecules. We don't really harp on that too much in the on-level freshman biology. So for AP biology, we're diving real deep, and I'm learning with y'all. I'm not even going to try to lie about it. I'm learning with y'all. I do enjoy it. I love to see how the AP kids' brains works. Y'all's brains are so interesting. Y'all think of things that I would never think of, or that some of my peers would never think of. So I like to see how you work through things in your head, and I like to see how you're going to get the answer before I tell you the answer. So I really like to see that with y'all. Y'all have surprised me really much. Y'all have surprised me so much. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. The most fun that I have with the AP biology kids is I can give y'all a creative project, and you do it, you don't complain about it, and you really have fun doing it. With my freshmen, I have to kind of push them to like it. It takes them a little longer to like it. They'd like it once, but they don't want to do it, right off the bat. So for AP biology, I think that I do a pretty good job of telling y'all that if I don't know the answer, we're going to figure it out. I don't try to hide the fact that I'm brand new at this to y'all. As my AP students, we're all learning together. So I'm the facilitator, but we're all going to learn together.
What about, like, the difference between pre-AP going into AP? Is it any different from regular to AP?
So from my freshmen to my juniors and seniors? Is that what you're asking? So maturity-wise, there's a huge difference. My freshmen come in and they're fresh out of middle school, and a lot of that behavior is still there. It takes me about 8 weeks to break them of it.
Wow.
So usually by the end of the first 9 weeks, I pretty much have them all in a good routine, and we've left most of that middle school behavior behind. So basically the first 8 weeks, I teach content and I teach them how to act like high schoolers. Y'all know what y'all are doing as far as AP students go. So my juniors and my seniors, y'all have a good handle on school. You know what's expected of you, and you're going to do it no matter what. You'll push me a little bit to see what you can get away with, but for the most part, you are very well behaved. You have a lot of maturity amongst those groups of kids. I don't have to ever redirect y'all. Not as much as the freshmen. That's a constantly redirecting thing, which is not a bad thing. It's just their age, and it's just how mature they are. By February, my freshmen have pretty much grown up, and I feel like I can turn them out loose into the West Brook world for next year and for their rest of their high school career.
As the Bruin Broadcast Teacher of the Week, what message or advice would you like to share with your fellow educators and students?
Remember that you're teaching the future, and even though they're aggravating at some times, you still are teaching the future. And usually the kid who aggravates you the most is the one who's going to return to you in 3 or 4 years, sometimes even longer, and say, I really enjoyed your class. I really learned a lot. And it might not have even been about the subject that you were teaching. I have students that come to me that tell them that I taught them how to send an email. Well, that's not related to biology, but they need that in the real world. So just be patient with them. I know they don't want to be here, but you're what's best for them, and just stay consistent. They recognize that consistency, and they need it more than anything in this world, is consistency and structure. Sometimes they don't get that at home, or it might not be in their everyday life, and your kids need that. So just be consistent and have that structure in your classrooms.
Okay, well, that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Bruin Broadcast, and congratulations for being the first Teacher of the Week.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.